Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to another episode of Full Circle, a weekly podcast where we squeeze a few headlines through our decidedly queer lens and see what happens. This episode is brought to you by Decanted Jug Wine and our quiet desperation for paid advertising.
I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr.
And I am your host, Martha Madrigal. Welcome to the Full Circle table.
In this fully packed episode, we talk about good news in women's history. She was only recently even made aware that she was the first. Trans representation in the State of the Union address.
A third grader from Houston who has repeatedly testified in front of Texas legislators in opposition to the Republicans' transphobic policies.
Bullshit in Montana.
All of this is unconstitutional, and we need to always keep that in mind. All of this is bullshit, and it's unconstitutional.
Tucker Carlson is still an asshat. Who the fuck is you to question a nominee for the Supreme Court? Movies we barely watched.
Yeah, we wanted to love it. It never got better. Well, at least not in the first 15 minutes, so I can't tell you more than that.
The Kanye West documentary. But yeah, it got dark and scary. Whew, and more. Hi.
So this is weird. So we're recording in daylight.
Yes, which I prefer.
It is a 70-degree day.
It is a 69-degree day.
Well,
nice.
It's okay. I just checked and it was 70.
Oh, damn.
70-degree day here in New Jersey. So the windows are open, so you may hear birds or small children outside, and that's because we really are sitting at the dining room table.
Yes, but if we hear too much small children or birds, I will close the window because damn it, no.
That's fine. But the breeze feels really nice. I have a cup of coffee and a glass of wine.
We're not exactly double fisted.
Well, it's not 4:00 yet, and that's my post-COVID drinking time.
4:00
after 4.
After 4, right? Restraint is important.
4 or after. Well, yeah, it used to be. It was 6:00 at one time, and then I went, all right, 5:00 is fine because happy hour. But yeah, it's been 4 p.m. So that's where I draw the line.
I mean,
unless it's brunch, and it is Sunday, so
exactly.
But we don't have tomato juice.
Brunch rules are always in effect. I don't care what you say.
Well, day drinking is do what you got to do.
So what else is new? We went and saw Sing Along
Sound of Music. We did.
Yes. Which basically meant it was a reason for me to make a loud laughing noise during the iconic scene where Mother Superior says,
What is it, you cunt face?
You were warned so hard to not say anything, and then I was the one that went tee hee hee.
Yeah, and it's quiet in the theater, and so people heard that, and it started laughter through the room,
which was the goal.
So it was fun.
I'm no stranger to making jokes during a crappy movie.
Yeah,
anyway,
any opportunity to be 9 years old.
Exactly.
Fine. Well, at least it wasn't me, because our friend just put her head down and shook it. Exactly. She was like, oh man. But because she was hosting the thing, and decorum and all that. Anyway, we did see Sing Along Sound of Music. That was our outing for the week.
Yes.
We have otherwise been busy. But you've been platforming the podcast all over town.
Yes. So there's no telling where everyone is listening to this, but it's somewhere, I guarantee.
Well, right, and that's good. Yeah, it's good. We're figuring this part of things out. So yeah, and that took time this week.
It did.
Yeah,
but it's because we care. We care about you.
Right. So let's move along. Let's move along. We have a list somewhere, right? Loosely.
We do.
Yeah. Okay. Good news, please. Always start with good news.
Of course.
Always start with good news.
It is Women's History Month.
It is.
Yes, we, according to the calendar, we're saying goodbye to Black History Month. I say the hell.
Comcast did it like midnight.
They did. The Black Voices
on March
section
1st, went away.
Went away.
Yeah, our friend Carol posted on Facebook at 12:15 because she went to put something on that she had meant to watch, and it was gone.
Instead of Black Voices, it was shh.
Yeah, well, there was nothing.
So, because I'm me, I made a point of combining a woman's history fact with a Black history fact, because I believe that history is history and Black history is every day. So, there.
Yay.
So today's women's history fact is it's about Hetty Simmons Love, who is the first Black student to graduate from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And she was only recently even made aware that she was the first.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So
she didn't know it at the time? I would have thought she would have looked around and went, I don't think this has happened before.
I mean, I'm sure she was used to being the only Black person in the space.
Right.
But
do we know what year she graduated?
She graduated. She did her undergrad at Fisk University in HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
Then she immediately went to Wharton, and she graduated 1947.
Wow.
Yes, 1947.
And she is still alive.
Yes, she is. She was at. It was 2016. She was at an AKA sorority event, and that's when she first learned of her standing as the first African American male or female to graduate from the Wharton School.
How about that?
How fierce is that?
And how old is she today? 98 is what I... Is that her? Honored at 98.
Yes. So she was honored at 98 in 2016.
And she's still alive?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So she's like 103.
So go ahead, Hattie.
All right then. What else you got?
Well, keeping in the theme of Black history every day, I came across a very cool story about a Black gay male ballet company that debuted during a dance festival. The company is called the Black Leaves Project, and it is based in DC, and it debuted on the 5th of this month, so yesterday.
Wow.
At the Intersections Festival, hosted by the Atlas Performing Arts Center. And it is comprised of all Black gay men. Their title was called Labyrinth, The Journey. And I love that that's a thing. You know, I mean, it's officially a thing because,
well,
Lord knows it's not the first dance company to be composed entirely of Black gay men, but this is the first time it's intentional.
Nice. So they are making Black history.
Exactly.
Cool. And just yesterday.
Yeah. So we're sitting in the middle of history.
So, you know, Biden had his State of the Union. That's another thing that happened.
Yes.
We did not watch the State of the Union because I tend to like to read it, you know, after the fact. I don't mind watching Biden. I forgot it was on.
Right.
We were doing something, and I forgot that it was on.
Because we would have.
I would have. Yeah, he doesn't. Unlike, you know, all the years that I had to boycott.
The other one.
And the Bush years.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had to read it. Couldn't listen. This was just, I forgot. But there is a wonderful statement that came out of that, and a special guest who attended, I believe, virtually. But, you know, Biden said, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to have the sitting president of the United States speak these words.
Mm-hmm.
The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families is wrong. As I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I will always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential. Fabulous. You know what? I don't care what haters in America say right now. I don't like the cacophony. I have to kind of float over here somewhere above all that. But
to stay sane.
Around the world, to hear these words from the American president, it is groundbreaking. It is really important. It is visibility that so many of our ancestors have worked and died for. And you know what? That's awesome.
It is awesome.
So there was an 8-year-old trans activist present.
I love this.
The 8-year-old has taken on Texas's legislators, inspiring other adults and trans youth in the process. This is Sonny Bryant, a third grader from Houston who has repeatedly testified in front of Texas legislators in opposition to the Republicans' transphobic policies.
Third grade.
Her testimony has put her in touch with other trans kids looking to live freely in Texas and has also inspired teachers and administrators at her school to call their legislators and oppose the policies as well. She was invited to attend Biden's address by Texas Representative Sylvia Garcia, a Democrat, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, even though politically charged attacks on Texas's trans youth by Governor Greg Abbott, politically charged attacks, she remains a bright and strong voice for Houston children, Garcia said to the Houston Chronicle. You know, there's a lot of bullshit coming out of Texas. I love the tenacity and temerity of these children. You know, I am certain that there are folks sitting there saying her mother is pushing her like a stage mother. Fuck off. You know, these kids have to really want to do this and be willing to do this.
Exactly.
And, you know, because they really do see, you know, we understand that we're different. Even young, we get it. We get it. We get that this is the generation where visibility is becoming more okay. And, you know, these kids have a story to tell. And, you know, they are feeling threatened. You know, and I talked a little bit last week about, you know, what can you do in the face of this kind of stuff? Speak up, speak out. Be a voice, lend your voice.
Exactly.
Know your local politicians to begin with so that they know who you are.
That's
and
always
they can
a good
call
idea.
on you. Vote. Especially when they make it hard. You know, but this is, it's groundbreaking. It's exciting. It is affirming. And I am thrilled.
And it's refreshing. And the children are our future.
Absolutely.
And our present,
you know, and I say as often as anyone, you know, listens to my old ass, you know, our generation said we needed to come out. They need to know that they know us. They need to know who we are. And, you know, these kids are doing that. And trans kids know who they are generally at a very young age. And, you know, they reveal themselves to their parents. It's not the other way around. No matter. It's not the other way around. So this is hugely important news.
It's fabulous.
That this little girl was invited to participate, but that the president of the United States spoke those words with clarity, unequivocally, again, spoke those words. This is something we've never had.
Nope.
So, you know, I hope we all take a moment to celebrate it. It's worthy of celebration. I mentioned last week, I think, that Disney, you know, as inclusive as they are certainly trying to be as a theme park, Disney has given money to all of the politicians, the Republican politicians who are behind the "Don't Say Gay" bill or law. It's going to become law. DeSantis is going to sign it. The Republican Senate in Florida is going to pass it because, you know, that's the only and most important thing that they have on their agenda. But, you know, in good news, and not because I mentioned it, but because this is, you know, I'm just reading it and following up. But a Disney heir has spoken out.
That was quick too.
Is asking it is quick, and she is asking questions. I'm just looking for a name. The current CEO is not getting into the fray right now and is trying to remain apolitical, which, now is really not the time.
Nope.
But Abigail Disney, who is an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and the, I want to say, great niece of Walt Disney, was asked on Twitter why Disney donated to these politicians. She said, quote, "I could not be more unhappy with their political activities, both in terms of who they fund and how they lobby." She went on to say, "I would strongly support a law to require all corporations to reveal all of their funding and lobbying moves."
Work.
Hear, 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 hear. So, we do need to hold accountable those folks who work for our dollars. You want our dollars, but where the rubber meets the road, you don't want to get into politics. But you're already in politics because you gave these fuckers money in the first place.
Exactly.
So, I'm good. Somebody with the last name Disney is asking questions. And, it'll be interesting to see how the answers unfold.
And let's be clear, two things. One, we want to stay apolitical. Being apolitical is a political statement. Also, you make political statements with your money and your spending habits. So you can't have it both ways, Disney.
You can't. You really can't. I mean, even Dolly Parton will, make the distinction between right and wrong. And she does stay above the political fray most of the time, but she is a supporter of the community.
Yes, she is.
She's done amazing things with, is it Imagination Library? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Where millions of books have been distributed for free to children from between birth and age 5. So, preschoolers. Some jackass in Kentucky tried to bring that up and start some shit, and that didn't go well.
Because children reading is bad.
Yeah, well, apparently her sister, I think Stella, was like, how dare you?
Yeah,
how
really?
dare you? And what he tried to say, good God. So the books are age appropriate.
Yes.
And age appropriate is a statement. Words need to get back to meaning something. Age
Right.
appropriate is a statement that means that whatever the subject matter, it is appropriate to the age of the child and their level of understanding and comprehension. That's what
Right.
it means. But he said, but is it, what was it? I want to say he used the term content appropriate.
Fuck you.
And we all know what that means. Because
Will white children feel safe?
will white children feel safe?
That's what it always boils down
will
to.
he be comfortable in who he's more, in those that he is marginalizing and marginalized remain so while he reads a book to his granddaughter or whatever? And,
We don't want the queers and the Negroes getting uppity because I'm reading my little child a book.
yeah, you know what? We're all marching to the grave. Brown people are having more babies than white or black people. And, they're going to be the majority no matter what these yahoos do. And, but Jesus Christ, their last breaths are a lot to live through.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was supposed to be the good news.
And it only goes downhill from there.
Right. But, good on her. Good on Ms. Disney for
No, that's amazing.
speaking up because, yeah, it was a fair question to ask because you can't have it both ways.
You can't.
You just can't.
If you're going to be who you say you are, you have to be who you say you are.
It used to be more of a thing. Like, how do I say this right? I'm not new. I know that a lot of, in particular businesses who donate at all to politics, they bet on every horse. Everybody gets some money.
Right.
That's how it works. They tend not to exclusively donate to one party and not the other, or at least they used to.
Because that could be seen as an endorsement.
Back before, this ridiculous slide to complete polarization.
Right.
That was common behavior. And, more or less, it did not have the same impact it does now. It was not as critical.
Well,
in
the money's
some
more
ways.
weaponized now.
It is. Well, and our identities are being weaponized, but we're the ones being accused of identity politics. And so it goes.
Irony.
Because if you're the one who's pointing to the fire is your fault. Like if you don't point to it, it's not real. It doesn't exist. So if you point to race, I just wrote a piece. I'm so proud of myself. I finished my Monday essay on Sunday morning, and I think I said that
Apple polisher.
Like, yeah, right. Whatever that means. But I said that and perpetuate the person who points to racism being perpetuated is not perpetuating racism. Perpetuating racism is perpetuating racism.
It's true.
Like,
I made a point of copying and pasting and saving into my notes the does not equal sign just so that I can make these points.
With it.
Pointing out racism does not equal racism.
No, it doesn't.
Also, hurt white feelings does not equal racism.
No, it does not. It does not. Yeah. Words need to mean things again.
Remember that.
I know, right? So the Texas bullshit already is in court.
Here we go.
There's already a temporary restraining order in place, children. I said, and I'm happy that I was right. This is not going to stand. And we know that Lambda Legal and we know that the ACLU are on the ground in Texas. They're playing whack-a-mole on our behalf. Yep. There's another thing you can do. If you have $5 to spare, send it to either of those organizations because they're fighting the good fight. So yeah, 16-year-old trans girl. Her mother actually worked for like Youth and Family Services. The mother got put on leave. They showed up demanding the child's medical records. The mother said absolutely not, or the parents said absolutely not. And we are in court, and there is already a temporary restraining order in place for implementation of this bullshit. So, we'll keep updating that. I should have put that in good news because it is. It is good news. Right. I didn't expect it to stand, and it hasn't. I mean, ultimately, I believe it will absolutely be, done away with.
That feels dangerously close to show me your papers,
Well, there's a lot of that going around. Are you trying to get to Tucker Carlson already?
No.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the anti-lynching bill?
Oh, Jesus.
Now, they didn't stop it from... I hate these headlines.
Right.
The headline says, 3 Republicans stop anti-lynching bill. Now, some people only read that far.
Right.
From passing unanimously.
Right.
In the House. It passed.
The bill did pass, but it was
all
not unanimous.
All but 3.
Because of 3 ass hats.
I was going to say jackals, but yeah,
Your
ass hat has always been a fun word.
Exactly. Andrew Clyde of Georgia.
Imagine.
Mm-hmm. Who... One of his little claims to fame is he referred to the January 6th insurrection as a normal tourist visit.
Yeah, that's what that was.
The second individual, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, his other claim to fame is he wrote a bill to allow guns in school zones. These guys are great.
Wow.
And the third, my favorite, Mr. Chip Roy of Texas.
Imagine.
Everyone that's surprised, raise your hand. Anyone? Bueller. His little asterisk is he called lynching an example of justice. Now,
wow.
That says to me that there is a swinging Negro in his family's past, so he doesn't want to be too quick to be too vocal. I mean, that's what I hear.
Well,
there's nothing factual to back that up. That's just the vibe I get.
I mean, the tune he's humming.
Right. is I Wish I Was in Dixie.
It's evocative of something. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they didn't stop anything. The rest of the Republicans knew better, thankfully, but these 3 stand out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we didn't... This has been on the list for a bit. The Red Sox released a minor league player.
Yeah, this is like it's
for calling us rapists and sodomites. Good.
It straddles the line between good news and bad news.
And he has did you see his picture? Major gay face.
Oh, I know.
Major gay face.
Mm-hmm.
Like undeniable.
Well, you know that old saying, the squeaky wheel wants to get bent over and greased?
That's your old saying, but yeah, I'm familiar with it.
I've been saying it for a long time. It's an old saying. But yeah, and
people have said
he doubles and triples down.
I know.
Like, I'm amazed he still has a Twitter account.
I know, right? Forget about your career.
Because he straight up said in one of his tweets, "I am a racist. I do sometimes make assumptions based on another person's race, ethnicity, culture. Glad that's out of the way." Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Wear it on your sleeve so I know who to avoid.
I like it when they wear it on their sleeve. I mean, I think that's been an upside to all of this.
You know,
put the Trump flag out front. Go, please. And keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it there. Yeah.
Own your shit.
Yeah, own your shit. And that way we know.
But his Twitter is like a cavalcade of nonsense and bullshit.
You're kidding.
He said, any person who is secretly transgender and their partner does not know, and sexual actions have taken
So in
place,
other words, a dude gets a blowjob from a trans woman,
is a rapist and a sexual molester. May God be the judge.
I'm wondering if he was blown by a trans man or a trans woman.
Hey, squeaky wheel. And let's see, another one. This is one of my favorites. Black people should go back to their roots and start to reestablish their true black culture.
Okay.
And what would that be, white man? I really would like to know. Oh, arbiter of all things Negro. Like, what the girl. And then, and just to make sure.
He should have an advice column, huh?
And just to make sure.
We know he's done in baseball, so.
Right. He needs a new gig.
Or football or whatever ball he plays.
It was baseball.
Okay.
Yes. The one with the stick.
I got it right.
You did.
The one with the stick. And no, there are more than one with. Anyway, go ahead.
To make sure that he covered all his bases, he wrote about the chief baseball officer of the Red Sox, whose name is Chaim Bloom.
Mm-hmm. I knew he was going to drag the Jews into this.
He referred to him as an embarrassment to any Torah-following Jew. Oh. And I looked really hard to see if this man was Jewish himself, because he seems to act like he knows a lot about Jewish faith.
I don't think he is. Is he?
No.
Of course not.
He said, dude went to Hebrew school and studied the Torah growing up, but sold his soul to the Sodom and race groups.
Hey.
And then had the nerve to say, I'll go along with racist and homophobic, but anti-Semitic, that's too far.
Oh, please.
He's just laughable, but you know what?
He really, that was entertaining.
It was, because he gone.
This little white boy is just lost in the soup his parents boy. Oh God. Yeah. I don't want to meet his folks. I don't think.
Yeah, assuming they talk to him.
Although, wouldn't it be fun? They're probably flaming liberals, and they're just like, we don't know this kid.
We have no son.
Yeah, he went to some, meeting at church with a friend, and we haven't known him since. We thought he was gay. Look at his face.
I'm just saying.
Moving on.
I'm just saying.
Moving on.
So, oh, good Lord. So, for those of you,
I see where we are.
For those of you of a certain age, you might remember a certain performer on Saturday Night Live. This is in the early 80s. Her name was...
Is that when it... No, it wasn't.
Or early to mid 80s.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
I remember her.
Victoria Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
She was the cute blonde with the squeaky voice. That's how I always thought of her. I was a kid.
Right,
I ain't know
fair.
from
Well,
nothing.
that's fair.
Well, since her tenure on SNL has ended, she got a new gig.
She has lost her damn mind.
For real. She got a new gig as a right-wing wingnut. A right-wing nut, as it were.
A right-wing nut, yeah.
And I just want to know at what point it's not even like she lost her mind. It's like she threw it and then ran in the opposite direction. She was testifying.
As they do.
As they do. She was testifying in front of a Tennessee House Committee meeting in favor of book banning.
Of course.
And it just became this diatribe. First, she referred to the school libraries and some textbooks that are trying to bring about the downfall of moral society. She said, I thought this was the Bible Belt. And then she cued some random Bible verse to quote, talking about spiritual wickedness in high places. And then she goes on to quote the goals of the Communist Party that you can easily Google, she says. Now, these are the little, a few of the
irony is,
these are the few of the bullet points that she brought up. Let's see. The Communist Party wants to gain control of schools and teachers associations, soften curriculums, take control of student newspapers, eliminate laws controlling obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech. They want to break down the standards of cultural morality by promoting pornography and obscenity.
Yeah, okay.
Promoting homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy.
Those are synonyms, by the way.
In her mind, yeah.
Eliminate
prayer and discredit the founding fathers and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my God. No, sweetie, first of all, the minute they mention the founding fathers, they lose.
Exactly. The founding fathers were discredited the moment they were revealed to be slave owners in the first fucking place, I say.
Well, the Christian nation thing is the biggest joke perpetuated by religionists.
Also that?
Yeah. And Google could be her friend too, but.
Now, I'm not an expert on communism and the tenets of the Communist Party.
You are not.
However, I never ever came across most of this shit while reading about communism. Like,
even so, it's just, it's the irony lies in the fact that they're doing those things. They are trying to do these things. From their perspective, they are trying to assert their particular white, Christian, conservative perspective on everyone's children.
Right.
When we're trying to say things like queer people exist, and they won't even concede that point.
Right.
They will not. They will not just concede. Yeah. Trans people have existed throughout history. We've existed for as long as there are people.
We're doing it right now.
We're doing it right now in our dining room. Like they don't even want to concede that point because of their, beliefs. And beliefs aren't facts. Facts are facts.
Right.
And that is what we all should espouse to teach in terms of public education.
Right. Beliefs are not facts.
Religion,
feelings are not facts.
The history of religion is one thing, but teaching or coming from any religious perspective isn't okay. It's not okay.
Right.
I thought the goal was to raise citizens, and we can't really effectively do that if we only give them one narrow perspective and then shoo them out into the world. Because then, even if they can play baseball, they wind up saying really stupid shit.
Mm-hmm. And I also love her throwing out that whole thing about calling it a violation of free speech and censorship, which is always the first thing they throw out whenever you challenge their beliefs. Correct.
And some things are. But, again, we all know what age appropriate means. Mm-hmm. We all know, but as long as they continue to conflate gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation with sex, they're going to keep doing this.
Yep.
And as long as they fixate the way they fixate, and it is them doing it,
yep,
we're nothing but that list of things she called us. That's been their narrative forever.
Yes, it has.
And, I'm sorry, but stop it. Stop it.
Stop it right now.
That's why I call them, children's genital fetishists when they're so worried about what's inside the underpants of little school children.
It's creepy.
It's really creepy. It's really creepy. And, they speak freely about their lives, and that's all okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay for them to talk about having a husband or a wife because they consider that normal. And we are, by extension, abnormal. And because we're a smaller percentage of the population, we shouldn't be a topic. We shouldn't be discussing that with little children. Well, hello, why? Why?
Right. What are we afraid of?
We're not talking about sex acts.
Nope.
We're not talking about any of the things they claim we're talking about.
And wouldn't.
We're talking about the fact that, yeah, some people have two mommies, some people have two daddies.
Period.
Right. You'll grow up and love who you love.
That's all.
You'll tell us who you are. This just creates healthier people. It might put some psychologists out of work, but I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's exhausting. Where are we? Where are we? I know I'm on a tangent when my phone starts to go to sleep.
We're on our way to Montana.
Oh wait, we just skipping over Iowa. Iowa became the 11th state to enact a transgender sports law.
Oh,
of course they did.
And I read that Utah has a bill.
Yeah. The governor said the new law is a victory for girls' sports in Iowa. You know what?
What is it with girls' sports?
Suddenly. Well, it's fucking with trans people. That's what it is. Of course that's what it is. And it's stoking the fires. It's so easy to do because, most people in this country haven't knowingly met a trans person. And so, we're like their perfect boogeyman because they don't even know. They don't know what they don't know. And sadly, they don't want to know. Right.
Or they think they don't.
Yeah.
We're
so
awesome.
I'm not even going to,
Queer folks are awesome and trans folks are awesome.
Of course they are. I'm not going to, not all of us, because some of us, but yeah, but we're not a monolith any more than any other group. And that's kind of the thing we need to break apart. When we start talking about trans and queer individuals as individuals and not, don't ask me to answer for every trans person that ever walked. Don't ask you to answer for every, black queer man who ever walked. Right. Excuse me, I'm this one person over here and I speak for this one person over here. And, some of us do bad things and some of us make stupid decisions, and it is the way it is. I'm not even going to open the article. Montana has passed these laws, but they are coming to court now. I think, they're finally starting to be addressed. All of this is unconstitutional. And we need to always keep that in mind. All of this is bullshit, right, and it's unconstitutional. But one of the good things that has come out of, I think it's 3 laws that passed, Zoe Zephyr, who was a person who had initially testified, and I believe it was to trans folks in sports, is now running to be, I believe, a state rep in Montana. And so running for the Montana House of Representatives. Good. To be at the table and, change the conversation. Good.
Fabulous.
And, the other thing, I did note, I'm sorry, my I'm reading off a phone. I had made note that what Montana is being currently sued over is they have a new surgery requirement for any changes to a birth certificate. Yeah. So you know what?
So much
work. It's all the same game, and we need to recognize it. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of who struck what. It is lining Republican pockets, because we're their current boogeymen, and we have to not get any on us. It's that analogy I love to put up. Right. Be the Morton Salt girl. Put on your slicker and don't get any of it on you. Metaphorically, wrap yourself in plastic and just don't. This is coming out of them. It's garbage. It's nasty. It's ugly. History is not going to remember any of these people with fondness. But, right now we're the current target. And, that's because we're gaining visibility, and we are, we are gaining hearts and minds even as this nonsense happens. And the more they do it to children,
Yep.
you know, the more parents and grandparents across this country are going to say, this is stupid. They're going to see it. They're going to see it.
It's funny. I'm reminded of like my mom and many other moms I heard when I was a kid would frequently say, if you would put as much effort into your schoolwork as you did learning the words of those rap songs, you would get somewhere. If they would put as much work into being worthwhile, decent human beings as they are into trying to torment trans people and queer people and black people and women and anyone that's not a cis white man, I swear to God, where would we be?
We would have people minding their own business.
My goodness.
Which I thought was what Republicans stood for in the first place. I thought that was one of the tenets of small government. Mind your business. Leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. Except when you want to tell me how to live, what I can put in my body, what I can't put in my body, what I can do with my body, what I can call my body, etc. And on that note, we're going to take a break. We're going to skip over the Staten Island St. Patrick's Day parade because I don't really fucking care. And, you know, we'll be back.
We'll be back.
And we are back with more liberal tripe and claptrap.
Yes, we are. Stinky hippies.
Speaking of claptrap.
So I came across a story that just, I rolled my eyes so hard, I think I hurt myself. Sage journalist and legal expert Tucker Carlson. I'm kidding. He's neither of those things and never will be. In fact, let me not even lead with him. As I mentioned in last week's episode, President Biden nominated Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court.
Yay.
Which would make her the first Black woman to sit on the bench as a Supreme Court justice, which is amazing and fabulous and wonderful. Mr. Tucker Carlson.
You know what I want to mention? Just hold that thought because I hate talking about this jackass.
Okay.
But representation changes the conversation.
Indeed.
Simply changes the conversation. You know, when white men or men in general sit around and talk about women and women's reproductive rights, it becomes an immediately different conversation the more women you add into that discussion. Now, also the more political viewpoints, the broader the discussion gets.
Right.
This is a voice we have not had. This is a perspective we have not had. And I am totally here for it.
Indeed.
And I want, yeah.
So.
I'm sorry. Go talk about what's his face.
Because Tucker Carlson always has to have an opinion.
Of course he does.
And of course we have to fucking
He's paid well for it. Here and in Russia.
He he made a point of saying that he wants to see Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's LSAT scores.
Of course he does.
To prove that a Black woman is a, quote, top legal mind.
Show us your papers.
Show us your papers. Yeah. Show us your birth certificate. That's exactly what that sounds like.
Well, it is. It's the same song.
I just want to point out just a few points about the life and career of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. She graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's in government from Harvard. Then she went to Harvard Law School, where she was the supervising editor of the Harvard Law Review.
Yep.
She graduated cum laude with her JD from Harvard, her law degree. Then she worked in private practice for 3 years. Then she was assistant special counsel to the United States Sentencing Commission. Then for 2 years, she was an assistant federal public defender in D.C., handling cases before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. Then she was nominated to become the vice chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission by President Barack Obama, and then nominated again by President Obama to serve as the judge for the U.S. District Court for D.C. Now, let's look at Tucker Carlson's credentials. He got a bachelor's in history from some school.
Trinity College.
Yeah, that. Not in journalism or broadcasting. Definitely not law. I'm guessing not Black history or women's history.
I thought it was history.
No, he got a degree in history, but I bet you it wasn't Black history or women's history.
I'm sure it was not.
And a notable thing in his college yearbook, he was listed as a member of the Dan White Society.
What's that?
It was a society of appreciation for Dan White, who, would you like to mention who that is and his claim to fame?
Oh, I didn't know there was a society. Dear God.
Uh-huh.
Dan White murdered Harvey Milk.
Yeah, that. And I don't know how much the society harps on that particular fact. I'm just saying that that's an interesting little fact.
He also murdered the
mayor.
The Mayor Moscone. But
yes.
Yeah, he murdered Harvey Milk.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a society for the dude that murdered Harvey Milk.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was a member.
Makes perfect sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
he tried to join the CIA, was denied. Then he decided to pursue a career in journalism because his father encouraged him, and he basically said, they'll take anybody.
Wow.
Which, it appears to be true because we know several journalists who have integrity and intelligence and are thorough with fact checking. And then we also know motherfuckers like him. Mm-hmm. So, and the longest he's even held the job has been at Fox News. So all this to say, who the fuck is you to question whether or not a nominee for the Supreme Court is a legal mind?
I want to see his SAT scores.
Exactly. Would he even know how to interpret her LSAT scores if somebody even fucking gave them to him?
Well, of course not. But notice his SAT. I don't see his SAT scores anywhere.
Uh-huh. And this just felt an awful lot like, remember, I believe it was 2019 when that statistic came out that Black women were the most educated demographic.
Yes. In the U.S., they absolutely are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing from several white men, but that can't be it. That can't be right. And they ran to Google to find the one article that proved their point. And I want to point out that article is not present on the internet today. So,
at all.
I looked, could not find it. All I found were statistics saying that, yes, in fact, that is still true. Black women are the most educated demographic in the U.S.
Okay. So we have established that Her Honor has amazing and impeccable educational credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And Tucker has a BA.
Right.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with just having a bachelor's.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
Because I only have one, and I know some people that do. But my point is, I'm not sitting here questioning anyone's credentials, except for Tucker Carlson's maybe.
Well, that's fair.
That's all. That's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah. All that to say, who the fuck is you?
Yeah. And they never learn. They never learn.
Nope.
The whole birtherism thing, they never learn. That, it. So, and what they're calling into, first of all, her LSAT scores have nothing to do with, clearly they were high.
Right.
And clearly she had a stellar undergrad record, or she would have never gotten to graduate school at Harvard in the first goddamn place.
Correct.
And then she graduated at the top of her class. That doesn't happen because you were anywhere near the bottom.
Correct.
In terms of academic rigor,
right,
intellect, or participation in your own education. It just doesn't happen. And throwing this stuff out, it's deeply insulting. It's insulting to women. Of course, it's insulting to Black people, and it's supposed to be.
Right.
This is how they do. This is how they do.
It's just, I'm not sure if it's the fact that it was said at all or the fact that it was said by him. It just.
Well, and here's the thing. Because this is still America, mm-hmm. and water is still wet, mm-hmm. I know that this woman is brilliant.
Right.
I know that, she can do everything a man can do backward and in high heels. And while being chaste, because she's had to.
Word.
She's got to be 10 times better to be thought a quarter as good. And that's still the way it is in America.
Right.
So, yeah, I have no question that she's a phenomenal candidate. I just thank Goddess every day that I do not carry the internal ugliness of a Tucker Carlson who makes a living questioning all that is good, decent, and true. And on that note, I hear the dog crying. He needs to go pee. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about movies.
Yay! Happy things. Well,
no, but movies.
Be right back.
And we're back.
We are.
Rosie the cat is back indoors before it starts to rain. Mm-hmm. And the Pomeranian is empty and has had his treat.
Hallelujah.
Yes. I mentioned that I bake Ailey's dog treats. And just for fun and to figure out how my Twitter works, I will tweet the recipe for... or a link to the recipe, or however that nonsense works. Charles is actually going to do it. I don't do this. To the recipe for Ailey's pumpkin peanut butter dog treats. They are soft because he is a toothless Pomeranian with kidney issues. But yeah, they encourage him to go outside regularly, which he does like a soldier, sometimes too often. But anyway, the dog is empty.
To get those treats.
I think it is. So I will tweet the dog treats. They're a hell of a lot cheaper than the special little treats we were trying to buy that he spit out anyway.
Right.
So.
And you keep telling me that you don't put crack in the treats, but I swear you do, because he is addicted.
Further, you can find us on Twitter at Full Circle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Full Circle The Pod.
Right.
You can find us, and hopefully... Well, clearly you've already found us, but on every platform that will have our podcast.
Yes.
My Twitter handle again is Martha Madrigal, and Charles can be found at NeverSkurred, NeverSkurred on both Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
So I said we would talk about this, and I kind of want to, because we just kind of constructed a brief list. But there are a lot of movies we never see more than 15 minutes of.
Right.
The first one that came to mind was Free Guy.
Oh God. It was so bad.
It was bad.
Did
we talk about that last week? Did we mention
the fact that we saw it? But yeah, we love Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, we wanted to love it. It never got better. Well, at least not in the first 15 minutes. So I can't tell you more than that.
I went back and read about it. No, it didn't. It got worse. And I looked at Martha and I said, I'm scared. And Martha said, why? And I said, I don't think this is going to get unstupid.
Yeah.
And then we heard Miley Cyrus sing Wrecking Ball as Ryan Reynolds fell from a high place. And then I said, you know what? I'm out.
Mm-hmm. So I did not enjoy the first 15 minutes, and I can't really speak to the rest of it other than, I don't have to claim that's 2 hours I'll never get back.
Exactly.
The French Dispatch, sadly, and I think it's up for like Oscars.
Well, it's Wes Anderson. And I love Wes Anderson. And I'm actually going to give it another chance because it's Wes Anderson. I'll do it on my own.
Yeah, do that.
Obviously. I think I still had the taste of Free Guy in my mouth, so I just couldn't take I just couldn't.
I can't laugh like a 9-year-old boy if I try. But you still had the taste of Free Guy in your mouth.
I heard it when I said it. I was hoping you would let it go.
No.
But
not after Sound of Music. I'm not letting it go.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't take anything that was trying to be too clever, or at least that's how I felt at the time.
That is sort of how it felt.
But that's kind of Wes Anderson, and that's fine if you're in the mood for it.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the mood for it, I will watch it, and I'll probably like it.
Tired on a good day.
We know.
And no. So 15 minutes of the French Dispatch told me I didn't care. That's just me. Charles is going to watch the whole thing and report back.
Well, I love Wes Anderson's style. Like, I love how every frame and every shot is symmetrical. Like, I am, as a filmmaker myself, I am totally, like, fascinated by little tricks and quirks like that. So,
yeah, I just,
if nothing else, I'll watch it with the sound off for that.
I've started to look at my life and how much time I have left. He didn't make the cut. I tried to watch there's a Kurt Vonnegut documentary.
I was looking. I thought that would be interesting.
I love Kurt Vonnegut.
I do too.
I was really fascinated. The format, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I turned 10 minutes.
Now,
I'm
is
like,
it something that I would get
I don't
through?
know. You'll have to see.
Okay.
You'll have to turn it on there was, if I remember it right, it was kind of the format because it's different conversations held over the course of a multi-year friendship. And I just went,
Okay.
Like there's dishes in the sink. We tried to rewatch Fight Club,
which I have been dying to rewatch because I love that movie so much, but you were not in the right place for it.
No, and I did. There was a time I did like that movie. When it was new. I do remember that. I thought it was really interesting filmmaking. I thought it was a really interesting premise.
It's quite homoerotic.
Yeah. That
doesn't
doesn't
flashes
hurt.
a dick.
That doesn't hurt. It doesn't. You want to keep my attention in a movie? Promise me, dick. But yeah, I realized I was not in the right headspace at all. So that got like 4 minutes, and I went, oh hell no.
Well, right, because the film opens with Edward Norton with a gun in his mouth, and if you're not in the mood for that, you're not going to be in the mood for that.
I really was not. There's a lot of trigger warnings in Fight Club, and I went, oh wait a minute, and I remembered the whole premise at once, and I went, no. So we got 10. I really tried. I did not like The Matrix. I know. One
of my favorite films ever.
Didn't like it when I originally saw it, but I did see it through. I never watched another one.
Matrix Reloaded is my personal favorite.
I didn't care. But, because of the sisters have since come out as trans.
Yes.
And I thought, let me try it again and let me try to understand it from that perspective. Nope. His mouth started to close or whatever that was.
Oh, right.
So wherever
that was it
like
for you.
10 minutes in, and I went, no, I hated this movie when I saw it. I'm still going to hate this movie. Good on them for being them. But I just don't know. Nope.
And that was okay for me to turn off because I've already seen it 11 times, and I'm going to see it 11 more. So,
well, the conversation that we had, I like a very specific kind of movie.
I know.
My favorite movies are kind of, triumph of the human spirit, overcoming adversity, trying again, getting back up and getting out there. Like, that's my genre, I guess.
Which I also appreciate.
Like Rudy. And sometimes it's a sports themed movie, which, shocks even me. But like, I love that little movie. And it's, it's about a real dude and, who had this really sweet story about Notre Dame. But it's this, it's the story of Rudy, and it's the story of all it took him to get there, all it took him to, and all he went through and all he was willing to do. And he had this indomitable spirit. And it's a lovely, sweet movie that leaves me feeling better about life in general, because life doesn't leave me feeling better about life in general on most days.
Fair.
So I really like a movie like Coda that just leaves my heart singing. Love Coda.
Coda is an amazing movie. I can't say anything against it.
Yeah, love it. But that's my jam. Horror is absolutely not my thing.
And I get that.
Yeah, I lived through
I
that.
never
like
tried
in real time. I don't need to watch it as entertainment.
I am a fan of horror movies. As a film watcher and a filmmaker, like I am fascinated by that genre. You can blame my sister for that. She sat me in front of Friday the 13th when I was in the 3rd grade.
Wow.
So
yeah, no, it's just not my thing.
But I understand that it's not for everyone, and I never try to make someone that says they don't like horror movies because I get that.
You know what? You will probably. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. You will probably never get me back on a roller coaster.
Okay.
Like I rode them for my children when they wanted to ride them, but I never got it. I never understood that whole, like, why do I want to be panicked, rushing down a hill, wondering if I'm going to die? Like, I don't, like, no.
I understand.
No. Life has given me that plenty of times. I don't need to pay people for the pleasure. So, The Peacemaker, which is a film I wasn't even in the room.
Peacemaker.
It's not a film, it's a series.
It's a series, yeah. Peacemaker is...
Is it DC or Marvel?
DC.
That explains it.
Yeah, Peacemaker is a character played by...
Charles is a Marvel fan.
I am. Played by John Cena, and the character is made popular from the last Suicide Squad film, which I really liked, which is what prompted me to see the series. And it was a little too like dumb testosterone-y for me. And I understand that it gets really good, but it's like
that's a Tuesday for me.
It just didn't hit me in a place I wanted to follow.
Dumb testosterone.
Like apparently the character of Peacemaker is queer. And that was like John Cena's idea to play the characters, to have the character be queer. Right. Okay. Cute.
Still nothing. Right.
The first episode didn't do it for me.
How about that?
Yeah. And I never looked back.
23 minutes. Now, was it a 23-minute episode? Did you make it all the way through or that?
No, it's an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Right. Well, I mean, so, take that for what it's worth, folks.
Your experience may differ.
It may, but if I'm not, I mean, because I look at that time, when we turn the television on and, kind of sit down to just chill, I want to be entertained. Sometimes I do want to be informed.
Right.
I strongly prefer documentaries to like watching the evening news. I'd rather read the news early in the day. And when I've had enough, I can put it down. But, we watch plenty of documentaries and I enjoy them.
Right. I do too.
But, if it doesn't hold my interest. Now, we binge watched all of the Golden Age, the Gilded Age.
Well, we watched all
on
up
HBO.
to the most recent episode.
Yes, but I mean, we went from 1 to 6 or however many there are. Right. I really like, first of all, I love Christine Baranski in pretty much everything she does.
Yes.
I just love her. And it was good. And it's by the Julian, I forget his last name, who created Downton Abbey.
Yes.
So,
and now we're watching Downton Abbey.
Because while we wait for another Gilded Age, we never did, neither one of us, you have only seen the first episode.
I saw the first episode twice.
And I have only ever seen the first season.
Okay.
So we've rewatched the first season and we are just about to finish the second season. It's good. I thought there was dick in it, but maybe I was wrong because there hasn't been. Or maybe it comes later. I don't know. I thought there was some dick in Downton Abbey. But
I don't know.
Maybe not. It's BBC.
I never thought I would be this entertained by a bunch of stuffy white people being stuffy and white.
I know, right?
But, it's gorgeous.
It is. It is. And period
gorgeous.
Pieces are also not my thing. But, when they're smart and clever and kind of a snapshot into the way that people behaved, it's like, that's where that shit came from.
All I know is Downton Abbey takes place in the from 1912 on.
And we're up to about 1919.
And the Gilded Age is what, 18?
It's like 1880 or so.
Right. So they can't go any further back and I'll watch it. Like they've officially gone as far back as I'm going to follow.
Because they make it they do make it interesting.
No, because if you go any further back, it's going to be slave times, and I'm not watching that.
Oh well, that's fair. I mean,
I'm not watching.
But Gilded Age is really just post Civil War. These are Civil War survivors, or the children of soldiers, the children of slaves, some former
Yes.
slaves.
Yes.
So it's compelling. It's interesting.
It actually is. And if nothing else, it is opulence porn.
It really is.
Oh my God.
It really is.
Like they walk into a couple of their rooms and I come a little. It's like, oh my God, the ceiling and the walls and the,
right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's fun to watch. And I just want to be entertained. Hold my interest hold my interest. That's all. You watched something I did not watch.
Oh, yeah. So I found out actually on the day that the first episode dropped, Genius, the Kanye West.
And that's spelled in a really fucked up way.
Yes, the Kanye West 3-part docu-series. Yeah, Genius is spelled JEEN-YUHS. Chaw. But
Phonetically.
yes.
Yeah.
And I, along with millions of people, was a huge fan of Kanye West and his music, and was disturbed and disappointed by, where he is now.
He has lost his mind.
I wanted to see it because I wanted to see how the journey was documented. His friend, his friend Cootie, who is a comedian, took it upon himself basically to document Kanye's journey from a producer, basically producer to the stars. He was a very renowned producer and beat maker for, you name a stellar hip hop artist, and he worked with and for them. And it started out with him trying to break out from just being the man behind the beats to being recognized as a rapper, and trying to get his foot in the door. It started in Chicago, where they were from, and the hip hop scene in Chicago was not at the time very big. Common was the first one to really make a big name.
And I love Common.
Yes. He was still Common Sense at the time.
Right.
And we see him traveling from Chicago to New York. We see the relationship he had with his mother. And I totally see how losing his mother broke him, because she was a very big influence with him. She kept him grounded no matter.
And everyone needs that.
It's true.
Especially
the bigger he got,
the business of show.
Yeah, the bigger he got, the closer he kept her. After his first album dropped and he was being thrust into the public eye as an A-lister, she was right there. When his second album dropped, they started the foundation, Donda's House, together. And then we see what happened after she passed, and she nurtured his ego, but also kept him grounded. There was a phrase, a quote that she said that I stopped and I thought about. She said, "When the giant looks in the mirror, he sees nothing." And I thought about that. And basically what it is when you're the giant, you're walking around doing giant things and you're seeing things from your perspective, but everyone else sees you.
Okay.
And I just found that interesting. She knew the star that she had, and she nurtured it, and she nurtured him being able to say that he was talented. And say what you will about him now, but if you say that he is,
and there's plenty
to say, there's plenty to fucking say. But if you say that he's not a musical genius, you're lying. That's just facts.
Okay.
But so the first section was called Vision, and that was him starting out and making a way. The second episode was Purpose. We would see him finally getting signed to Rockefeller Records, and he tried and finally got on. Then the College Dropout album dropped, and That's it. Catapulted to stardom. And then the third episode was the one I was really looking forward to, because I was trying to figure out how in the hell are you going to encompass everything that happened between his first album dropping to his second album and then everything else. And we got to see meltdowns and breakdowns. And at one point, Cootie said it didn't feel right to be filming him while he was behaving like this. Like he was just out of control at points. It was sad, it was scary, and it makes me quite like he's obviously a person who is in need of mental health care.
Okay. Well, anybody who put on a MAGA hat, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's the other thing.
Like, where did that come from? Were there always these conservative leanings, or did that just come out of the blue? Because for some, I mean, like, we know people who had no political interest or acumen who were suddenly swept away.
Well, for one thing,
with the cult of Trump, and, really, and have permanently damaged relationships and even employment. And, so I just wondered, did he always have any kind of leaning, or did that just...
It seemed to come out of nowhere.
I mean, the Kardashians, we know that Caitlyn Jenner is a Republican. Like, right. And I believe the father was, I think.
It's a good question. I
was it that family and
maybe
and he just dove into that nonsense?
In the documentary, it kind of came out of nowhere, so it didn't make any more sense than it did seeing it in real time.
Okay. But it was a new thing, wasn't it?
It felt like a new thing that came out of nowhere. But
It's happened to a lot of people.
I wrote down that I believe that he and Trump share the dependence on the opinions of others.
True.
So that's one thing they had in common. So if you stroke each other's ego, you build each other up, you find that in common.
And then so he got to know a president.
Right.
And that's all that really mattered.
And also being close to a president was part of
I still don't count him
the
as
Kanye brand. I know. Was part of the Kanye brand, being where the top are, even though that bar's been lowered to hell. It was an interesting watch, and I'm glad I saw it. It was, when the young Kanye, the Kanye that I was a fan of, as an artist, I appreciated seeing the hustle, seeing the drive, seeing his plan start to work. But yeah, it got dark and scary. And when I started to see parallels with some people that, like you mentioned, that we know that go off the deep end and like look for confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. Like when he was running for president and he had a little bit of a meltdown at his first campaign speech, and Tucker Carlson replayed it and was basically trying to say, like, just because someone's crazy doesn't mean they're wrong. And Kanye's watching this on his phone in the car like, yeah, that. And I'm like, see, damn it. Mm-hmm. You're being fed by it.
Well, and that's, back to that notion of grounding.
Right.
Everyone, but particularly folks, who live in the public eye, whether it's politics, whether it's, music, whether the entire business of show,
right?
You need somebody you trust to like snatch you.
Exactly.
And remind you like
who you really are,
of how you were raised and who you are. And, when you just go off track. Mm-hmm. And I guess that was his mother. And I guess no one ever replaced her in his life.
Yeah. Well, and he never stopped working after she died. He never paused to like self-reflect and grieve,
right,
and take account of those feelings. And it just fed itself. Cootie had a quote that I wrote down. He said, you might say you miss the old Kanye, but every part of him makes him who he is, which means that, this ego and the seeds of his mental illness would have always been there and would have always manifested probably. But if he would have had the proper guidance, it wouldn't be as self-destructive as it appeared to be,
Well, and then, how many celebrity stories are there where folks stopped listening to those around them and, found a bunch of yes people. And,
right.
Michael Jackson is who I'm thinking of, but,
right.
It happened to so many. Yeah, mental health. it's high on my list to remove the stigma of mental health from our lives. And just,
I agree.
Because how many lives have been destroyed? How many lives have been ruined? How many lives have been cut short?
Oh, yeah.
That didn't need to be.
I thank goodness for therapy.
Therapy can be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be transformative. It's a good checking in place to acquire the tools that, we carry into life, to learn to appreciate and love ourselves, and to learn when, to be able to figure out even when to open your mouth and when to keep it shut.
Right.
It all helps. And when there is a component, whenever there is a mental health component, and the component is dealt with, you don't have all this mishigas.
Right.
Like you just kind of, it tempers the rest of it. And it's sad. It's sad. And
it is sad.
I was never a fan of Kanye West, but I know that you were.
Right. And that being said,
I'm just watching this shit, and it's like, I think if you stand anywhere near him and just say Pete Davidson, you'll watch him twitch visibly.
I'm gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
Real quick, I just wanted to say, like, I was having these conflicting feelings watching the series because I'm seeing like how these things actually affected him, but mental illness is not an excuse for bad behavior.
It is not.
And I fell off after the slavery was a choice comment. Like, that was it for me.
He said that shit. He said that shit.
I no longer could support him. Like, I have been dying to hear some of my favorite Kanye songs for the past few years, but I refuse to hit play because I can't support him by giving him those clicks. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it.
Oh, honey, by definition, slavery was not a choice. But, this is one more product of words don't mean anything anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's all, really at the end of the day, I think sad.
Right.
We're having a lot of conversations right now around all of it.
Right.
And I hope that ultimately that's a good thing. But, none of this is okay.
Right. Like the Pete Davidson situation, like you mentioned, that's not excusable. And I did actually watch the video for Kanye's song Easy, where he basically depicts burying Pete Davidson and planting roses that sprout up out of his head, and like he's featured in the video as like this dark shadowy figure, and the only thing that's really lit on him is the disembodied head that he's carrying under his arm.
Wow.
And it's like, I felt very uncomfortable and disturbed watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would have under the best of circumstances, because that's the kind of shit that I don't like get into. But just knowing what was behind it, it's like, dude, you need something or someone. So yeah,
at least, and I think I immediately said to you, and yet Kathy Griffin almost lost all of her career. And, her performance art was, because this unhinged man was fucking the entire country. Kanye's performance art is an unhinged man upset because someone is fucking his former wife.
She's living happily without him, and he can't do that. And he has a history of doing that. He has a history.
I'm just saying, but nobody. I made the comment to you, and it was not my original comment. I read it and went, no shit. If Kanye was a woman, he would already be in conservatorship.
It's true.
It is very true.
Kanye has a history of acting badly with the women in his life leaving him and moving on and being happy without him. I just want to point that out. And also,
and while Pete Davidson wasn't a sitting president, which is allegedly the little sticking point
only
for
thing.
Kathy Griffin. Hers was, I would argue.
Do I think she needs to lose her career behind that? Hell no.
Perhaps in poor taste, but it was like, this has to stop. This madness has to stop.
Right.
And on behalf of all people everywhere, where, Kanye's is deeply personal,
right,
and fucked up, and just about, his ego.
Right.
And wow.
Yeah.
But ain't nobody said shit.
Yeah. Before,
as far as I know.
Before Trump got elected, I made all kinds of jokes and comments, but once he was sworn in, I had to stop that shit.
Well, because there was a couple times you wanted to say, and I'm like, no, because they show up at your door.
It's different.
You have to watch your hyperbole and use of metaphor when you were talking about a sitting president, and that's just the way it is. But this was some kind of sick shit, and it's all personal, and it's all directed at, he's got her and you don't.
Right.
But I don't even know who broke up with who. I don't know if Kanye didn't want her anymore or she didn't want him, and it's really kind of irrelevant.
It is. But the whole buying a house across the street from her.
You're still really fucking rich. Right. Like, get a therapist.
Yeah, he
see if we can't medicate a bit and knock it off.
And I guess that brings me to my question, like, at what point do we just wash our hands of someone? Like, is there a point?
Well,
because it's like, okay, yes, you are in need of mental health care. Yes, you are. A lot of this behavior can be seen as a cry for help, but we don't have to sit here and watch you implode, and your behavior is affecting other actual human beings.
Right. Well, it's not a conundrum for me just because I never gave a shit about Kanye West to begin with.
Right.
I just didn't.
And it's like, I've said, less than favorable things about Kim Kardashian, but at the same time, she does not deserve this. No one deserves this.
No, she doesn't. It's really menacing.
It is.
It's not okay. It's messed up on a lot of levels. It really is. And, I don't even have a comparison to make where, there was an artist that I truly loved who just really let me down. Maybe Bill Cosby, like, it was actually cathartic watching that special. I thought that was important. I thought that was well done. But
we need to talk about Cosby. Yeah.
We need to talk about Cosby, but still, I was like, yeah, it just is, and it's how I feel about all this too. Can I support him as an artist? I can't even, it's nonsensical for me to comment only because I didn't care to begin with.
Right.
I mean, if Cher did shit like this, I would be doubling up on therapy. I would. She has never lost her mind in this way at all, ever. And, I'm thankful for it.
The craziest thing we ever saw her do was stand up on a 30-foot high pillar and sing at us.
At 70 years old.
And
yes.
Then fly around the stadium dressed like the red version of the Virgin Mary, but that's, that ain't hurt nobody.
No, it didn't. It really didn't. And, she said 40 years of saying follow that. And it's true. It's true. I mean, yeah. You said best concert ever.
Still, I've seen Janet several times,
and you adore you went into dance because of Janet Jackson.
I did,
and yet,
but Cher was the best concert I've ever seen. It just straight up best show I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, she knows what. And there is a great example, children, of someone who has been told that they didn't fit, that they weren't what was being looked for, that there were a lot of things that she could not do, including acting, and so she went on to win the Oscar. Yeah. She went on to say, but I'm going to do that. And she did it brilliantly. When they said she couldn't act, she went on to make Moonstruck and so many other films, Silkwood and Mask. And, but, she took that internal knowing and did something positive and healthy with it and said, I'm not going to be told, who I'm not. And I will do the things I want to do. And if I'm true to myself, they will be not just good enough, but great. And I think that is true for everyone.
It's true. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about Kanye.
Yeah. Well, right. But don't lose your mind. Have someone to check you all along the way and keep you grounded and sane. And you know what? Get out there and shine on. Thank you. This has been another episode of Full Circle, the podcast. I am Martha Madrigal.
And I am Charles Tyson Jr.
Thank you so much for listening.
See you soon. Full Circle is a NeverSkurred Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. produced and edited by NeverSkurred. Executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingle Berries.